What's up, everybody? And welcome to another Kinstretch class brought to you by Stretch Protect. My name is Coach Luke, and I'll be taking you through today's 25-minute shoulder-focused Kinstretch class. So today, we're really going to focus on mainly our linear motion of flexion, right? So we can have flexion straight up, we can flexion straight out here. We have what's called zones of shoulder flexion that we go into, but really the prerequisite of good, healthy, clean shoulder motion is adequate what's called joint workspace. So our workspace is described, we could say, with our shoulder car, or we kind of show our workspace with our shoulder car. But truly what sits at the prerequisite of good, clean shoulder flexion or shoulder function in general is internal rotation. So the better our joint can internally rotate, that shows we have good, adequate, actual joint space, right? So the space between the head of our humerus and our shoulder capsule is the joint, right? So if we don't have space, we don't have a joint. So the better our internal rotation becomes, the better our linear motion becomes. So shoulder flexion, shoulder extension, all that kind of stuff. So we're going to start out with shoulder cars like always. We're going to go into shoulder internal rotation, goes around, so we kind of prime the tissue, and then we're going to go into our shoulder flexion work. So staying collapsed kneeling, you can go tall kneeling, half kneeling, seated, standing, whatever you would like to do for our shoulder cars here. We're going to get right into it. We're going to go 2 shoulder cars, and then we'll just get right into our work. So ribs down, core engaged. The right hand out to the side, right? So I can do this if my fingers are in the way, or just here, and then I'm just going to adduct across the middle of the body so elbow stays straight, palms up, come across the face, everything else stays still, try not to shrug, try not to rotate the torso, max out this rotation from here, right? So I don't want to just rotate the hand, I want to rotate my whole bicep, my biceps rotating, that means my humerus is rotating, so my upper arm, that means my shoulder capsule is getting the rotation that it needs. And reverse, go into extension straight back. Again, try not to shrug. Come back over the top, keep those ribs down. Across the body, keep that elbow straight. Come back to the start, scoot just a little bit, so wall behind. And then I'm going to go back into rep number 2. Ribs down, close the cage, elbows locked out. Scrape the eyebrow, scrape the ear with the bicep. Kind of just high shoulder flex as we can. Make sure everything stays locked. Rotate, max out the rotation of the humerus of the upper arm while you max out the global rotation of the shoulder. Down. This, so you can clear the floor. And reverse extension. Over the top. Pull that shoulder down so you're not shrugging. Across the body. Come down and through. And switch. Lift it down. I can go hand here, but you can go hand out to the side. Whatever helps you create tension, make sure that on the top we're not extending through the lumbar spine. It's probably the most common compensation with the shoulder car is we either want to rotate the torso or we want to extend through the spine as we go to the top. So keep everything nice and tight. Try to just max out, not biggest shoulder car possible, but most amount of motion from the shoulder by itself. Here and reverse, extend. Open that palm if you're clearing the floor. Over the top. Rotates. Extra rotation now. Palm is up. Down and through. One more time. Cross the body. Scrape the eyebrow with the bicep. Max out shoulder flexion. Internal rotation. Keep rotating. Come around. Make a fist to clear the floor. First extension. Over the top. Extra rotation, come around, elbow stay straight across the body. That's adduction, it's called. Down and through. So I know we said we'll go right into tails. Let's do some capsule cars first, just to kind of continue to kind of warm up those tissues with rotation before we get into some later stuff. So we're showing 5 straight arm, or straight elbow, I should say. Axial rotations, these are called just capsule cars or axials. We're just going to go 5 reps. Again, it's internal rotation. External rotation. It's not only a good depiction of workspace that we have, it's also just another great way to just kind of continue to prime the shoulder capsule before we get into some internal rotation, tail drills, and then into some shoulder flexion. So here, 90 degrees. Just think elbows straight out from the side of my shoulders. Go 90 degree bend in the elbows. You can go open palm, you can go fist, or you can grab 2 tennis balls. It's up to you. There, just internally rotate as far as you can before you want to dump the shoulders forward, right? So before you want to shrug, so the shoulder blades are getting involved. Just the shoulders. And It's just fairly light here, just kind of getting everything warmed up, ready to go. That's 2. Still want to push those boundaries, get to the end, push into that, get to the external rotation, push like you're trying to keep your fist to the wall behind you. 3, we got 2 more. Squeeze at the bottom, squeeze at the top. Last 1, squeeze at the bottom, squeeze at the top, drive it back, drive it back, drive it back, and relax. Okay, so come stand it up here. We're going to go into standing intra-rotation sleeper. So a lot of times, a lot of our classes, we've done sideline. We've done, I think, 1 class we've done the standing variation on the wall. So we're just going to throw this in today. Just another variation that you can use to not only train intra-rotation, but it's a little bit more accessible if running on the floors are comfortable for you, or if you just prefer the standing variation. So what we're going to do is everything else will be the same. So I'm going to use this outside leg to help me drive into the wall, and then I'm more or less going to lean to the wall, putting my weight from this shoulder into this shoulder, so the back side of my shoulder stays down just like I was on the floor. Take the shoulder, you can go elbow straight out from the shoulder, or you can drop it down just a little bit. You're going to be tempted to drop down even more because of gravity kind of pulling down here, so that's where you really want to lean into the wall, set your elbow position, and then try to work to keep that right there. Take your top hand from the wrist, remember not from the hand, but from the wrist. Take that internal rotation as much as you can. So I'm just going to pick it here, so I'm leaning into the wall, this outside leg to push in. Back side of my right shoulder is into the wall here. You can have the elbow at about shoulder height, or just a little below. It's up to you. From there, top hand, outside hand comes to the top of the wrist. Make sure everything stays down, and I'm just going to lean into the wall, and I will just relax for the next passive stretch here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to do 1 set of internal rotation, pelvis rails on each side, but we're going to do some lower level pelvis rails. So think instead of 70 to 100% at your max effort, now we're going to go anywhere between 50 and 70%. So think roughly, half as intense as you normally would, because we're just trying to kind of groove the rotation before we get into a more linear flexion work. So I'm just going to hang out here for a little bit longer. So we're going to do about 30-second fails, 30-second rails. Again, not high intensity, not your highest intensity. I wouldn't call it low, but we'll call it about medium intensity here. 1 set right, 1 set left, and it'll get us for shoulder flexion work. So because we're not going quite as long for or not quite as hard for the 2 minutes, not quite as hard for the pelvis rails, we're not going to go with the 2 minutes. So we just go from here, just going to take a breath in, set your body position, make sure everything's locked in, shoulder blade pulling back and down, take a breath, and start driving up into that top hand for our pelvis contraction. We're just going to build it up over the first 10 seconds. We're going to get to about, like I said, 50 to 70%. So about there now. Let's go for another 20 seconds here. Let's just hold. Just keep that, maintain that tension. Drive up into it. We're just kind of setting the stage for what we're going to do a little bit. So go around 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now rail should actually pull away from that top hand. Make sure that elbow stays there. So you take bottom hand, just kind of make sure that elbow stays in place. You're going to be tempted, the arm is going to want to slide down as you try to internally rotate more. Keep the shoulder in place, shoulder down. You can even take this top hand and guide from the bottom just to make sure that you're really maintaining tension. Get up another 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. And switch sides. Same setup. Hug that shoulder into the wall. Make sure you're driving into the wall to keep that back side of your left shoulder in place. Elbow comes straight from the shoulder, if not just a little bit below. You can train from multiple angles though, so you can train a little bit above the shoulder, you can train at the shoulder, right below. It's up to you. Make sure your body stays tight. Everything's locked in. Hang on the passive stretch for about a minute. Just try to focus on breathing. And relax into that stretch, get as much IR as you can. 1 set, 30-second tails, 30-second rails. Shoulder stays down, shoulder blade stays stays down, try to pull back and down with the arm. That'll just help keep everything locked in place and focus on all that rotation from the shoulder, just like we did the capsule pose earlier. You just want to really get as much from just that shoulder rotation as possible. Okay. Breath in. Solidify the core and start driving up into that top hand. We're just going to build it up to about 50 to 70% first and second. Keep building, keep building, building. Let's maintain this tension here, 20 seconds here. Just maintain the same amount of tension that you started with. Keep it going, keep going, keep going, keep going. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now rails, try to pull away from the top hand. Try to drive more into a rotation. Make sure the elbow stays still. So you can use your other hand just like a little shelf. Make sure the elbow stays in place. Keep driving the body into the wall. Keep trying to get more. Drive for more, drive for more. Make sure the shoulder stays down. Make sure you're not shrugging. Keep your top hand. You can try a little, just trying to pull up, just to make sure you're maintaining that tension down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Very good, check them out. We're going to our shoulder flexion work now. So that's just kind of setting the stage for everything else we're going to do in today's class. So for shoulder flexion, we're going to do some pillars and rails. We're going to do from a collapsed quadruped position. So if you have a, like a low table, coffee table, something like that, you can certainly train from there, right? Because you just here, arm on the table, and then you can just train the shoulder flexion, tails, rails. If you do not have a coffee table, if you do not have a surface that you can train from, we're going to use 2 yoga blocks because we're just trying to work with minimal equipment here. So again, if you have a table, use it. If you have a stair, step, something like that, use it. If not, just take 2 yoga blocks or stack some books. A foot off the floor is usually pretty good because what we're going to do is we're going to orient our upper body to make it our end range. So I'm going to take my hand on the surface here and take a collapsed quadruped position, kind of like a child's pose. I'm going to come down and I will find my end range of shoulder flexion. I'm going to get a stretch in the lat here by just shifting my body down and continue to try to stick my butt out, maintain tension, and breathe. So you can come down to the forearm, drop as low to the floor as you need so you can feel a stretch. You want to feel a stretch on the opening side, right? So that's the progressive angle that we talked about, the pillars and rails, right? So it's the progressive side and it's the regressive side. So I should go stretch in my lat here, so kind of underneath the shoulder. Make sure I'm not shrugging up, so I'll make sure everything stays down, shoulder stays right in the capsule, core is engaged, everything's nice and tight, and I'm just focusing on breathing and relaxing. As I breathe, as I relax, I can slowly sink deeper. So if you're getting all the way to the floor, you can certainly throw another yoga block on top, or you can stack the books under the yoga blocks on top. Whatever you need to do just to give yourself a good angle to train from, right? So I'm going to sit back and down, get myself the best stretch I can possibly get in my lats. Here we got 2 sets of pillars and rails. So my pillars contraction, I'm driving down on the block with my right hand, but also trying to think like I'm trying to drag the block towards me. Of course, I don't want it to move, but I want to get that contraction as if I was driving down and in, right? So that will really get the lats. Good contraction in the lats, and then from there, my rails is to try to maintain tension, maintain body position, try to lift my hand away from the block. You'll know if you're at your end range if you try to do a rails contraction, not lift. So if you don't lift off, that's okay. That's not necessarily the goal. The goal is to try to get as much of a contraction from the regressive angle, which is in the top side of the shoulder. You can squeeze the little nodule that you have underneath the shoulder, at the top of the shoulder here. Squeeze those as you do your rails contraction. We got two rounds here. Ready? Been here for about 2 minutes. Take a breath in. Lock in the core, brace the core. Everything starts driving down and in. So go with that contraction. We're going up to 100%. So we're at 30, 40, 50. Feel that lat work in 60, 70, 80, 90, and max effort. Crush the block through the floor. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now rails, trying to lift away. Just try to pull away. Elbow stays locked out. Try not to shrug. Just keep the top side of the shoulder. Those little downwards at the top of the shoulder joint. Let's go for another 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax. Take about 30 seconds here. So after that first set, you felt a little bit relaxed, a little bit deeper. So come down, forehead on the forearm. Whatever allows you to get more of a stretch in that lat. So keep orienting your body closer to the floor. Put yourself in more shoulder flexion. Give you a better stretch, deeper endurance training. Again, try not to shrug. Try to keep the shoulder right in the capsule. Like subtle pull back and down with the shoulder blade. Just to keep the shoulder down from shrugging. A little active scapular depression will keep us out of passive scapular elevation. So ready? Let's get one more set. Take one more breath in. One more breath out. Go a little deeper into that lat stretch. Next breath in. Back gear down. Full body contraction. Start driving forward, hand into the block. Contract down and in. Really want to get the lat working here. Keep driving down. Keep building up. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and max effort drive down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Elbows stay straight, don't shrug, and rail. Try to pull away. Top side of the shoulder working here. Drive up, drive up, drive up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Very good. Oof. And we'll switch. Side, left side here. So same thing, right? Collapse quadruped, child's pose. Got 2 sets here. So top hand on whatever surface you're using. I like to go knees out a little bit wider to the side. And then find my passive stretch. Shifting back and down. Trying to get the most stretch progressive angle, which is the lat. So that's the angle that is opening, right? So that's what we call the progressive angle. So that's good stretch. There, we will just breathe and relax. We have differences between left and left sides. You may be able to go just right into it. I know my left shoulder is a little bit better. This is the growing side, so a little bit more rotation there. So now I can probably just dive straight down if I want to. So I'll find the best lat stretch I possibly can. Breathe into it. Make sure we're not shrugging, right? So shoulder right, hold into the joint. Make sure we're getting the most stretch we possibly can. It's a big one. If you're a weightlifter or if you spend a lot of time behind a computer, shoulders roll forward, those lats tend to get a little cranky. And rock climbers, baseball players, overhead athletes, golfers, really everything that we do with the upper body, the lat is a big contributor to that. So the more stretch we can get, the more we can go to control the shoulder joint in all directions, the better everything else will get. There we go. One more big deep breath in. Think 4 count in. Great chance to work on that belly breathing. 8 count out. Relax as you exhale. Find yourself deeper, deeper, deeper. Next breath in. Full body contraction. Breath in. Pack the air down. Start driving hand down, and then try to pull the blocks towards you. Get that lat contraction. 30%. 40. Just build it up. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and max effort drive down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now rails, try to pull away. Make sure nothing else moves. Body stays tight. Everything stays still. Squeeze the top of that shoulder. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Everything you got. Everything you got. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And relax deeply so you can drop the forearm if you like. And I said on the other side too, stay in that stretch. Go do the rails contraction. you have these two nodules. If you kind of lift your shoulder, you have these two nodules right here, right between kind of your trap muscle and then your deltoid, right? So it's your rails. Just think trying to squeeze that as if someone was taking their fingers right here and trying to squeeze as tight as possible. Okay, we got one more set. Stretch that lat. One more big deep breath in. Breath out. The next breath in, pack air down. And start driving the forearm, hand, everything down on the block. Trying to pull it down and towards you. 50%, 60, 70, 80, 90, and max effort. 10, 9, and you got 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and rails. 15 seconds max effort. Here we go. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Try to do everything you can. Get that hand off the block. Make sure nothing else moves. Everything's locked. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and relax. Ooh, okay, very good. Okay, so here, man, good now. Yes, what we're going to do is we're just going to go into some shoulder flexion, passive range lift up. So we're going to go from a prone position. So I would just be here, so I'm going to have make sure my tailbone's tucked. If you want to take a block, squeeze between your legs, that will just help you create a little bit more tension. So I can take this block here and then squeeze between my knees, my lower thighs, calves, whatever position that you want to work on. So just squeeze and then tuck that tailbone. Make sure we're not arching through the lumbar spine. Everything else will just stay nice and still. I got 15 straight arm lift offs on my right arm, 15 on my left. So forehead will be on the forearm of my other arm. We train from a more straight up position. Like I said again, we have zones of flexion. So future classes, if you want to watch the video again, you can do it from a little bit farther out here, a little bit farther out here, whatever you feel like you need the most. Most people tend to have the least capacity straight up, that's why we train there the most. But that's not the only position we train. So I'm gonna go here, forehead on the forearm, squeeze the block, tuck my tailbone. We got 15 lift offs on my right, 15 on my left. And we'll call it a day. Here we go. So we're gonna walk out, body's tight, and lift, down, lift, 2, lift, 3, lift, 4, lift, 5, lift, 6, lift, 7, lift, 8, lift, 9, lift, 10, 5 more, lift, 11, lift, 12, lift, 13, lift, 14, last one, lift, 15. Same thing on that squeeze as we lift off, right? Same thing as our real contraction. Really just want to squeeze those little nodules there so as we come up and get the most amount from the shoulder joint itself. We're not hiking up, shrugging, or arching our lower back. Really want to be aware, especially with shoulder flexion, of the common compensation patterns, because when we do those here, you're probably going to do them when you're lifting or when you're doing any shoulder flexion activities, right? So sure, I'm up here, so if we go in there, it's a lot less stuff we have. Last one here, 15. Tuck, squeeze that block. Everything's tight. Make sure that shoulder's not shrugging. Pull it down just a little bit. Cores engaged, glutes are tight. And lift. 1, lift, 2, lift, 3, lift, 4, lift, 10 more, lift, 6, lift, 7, lift, 8, lift, 9, lift, 10, lift, 11, set if you need to, get it down, cores engaged, 4 more, lift, 12, lift, 13, lift, 14, last one, lift, and 15. Very good. That is it for today's 25-minute shoulder flexion focus class, we're really looking at rotational capacity of our bells and rails into linear capacity with our shoulder flexion work. So, like I said at the beginning of class, shoulder internal rotation and external rotation, but primarily internal rotation really creates the foundation for all the other motions that we want to do with not only our shoulder, but our hip and all the other joints that we have in the body. So the better they can rotate, the better they can move in a more linear fashion, like flexion, abduction, extension. So again, do your cars, continue to work on, kind of find the joints that you need to work on and continue to work on them on a daily basis. That is the ideal situation. 2 to 3 rounds or 2 to 3 days of harder pills and rails for the joints that you really need is a great place to start. But keep working on those cars, keep focusing on the joints on a daily basis, and they will continue to improve. So thank you for joining me in today's 25-minute shoulder focused Kinstretch class, and hope to see you at next.